So did you peek at it?
The toilet?
No, the motor.
I saw it when I got in here. Put some sheet metal and some wheels on it. Let's go.
Yeah.
It looks like it fits.
Get some suspension up under it.
Yeah. Crazy.
So I don't know if you can do this if you leave the sway bar mounts on. It'd be a tight battle, or you'd have to get it up really high.
Oh, the Foxbody ones?
Yeah.
Supposedly,
Like you'd have to get up high enough.
If you go into it at an angle,
yeah.
it'll fit, but it's not pretty.
Yeah. You know, but it was pretty straightforward, man.
Ah, so much for not liking Coyote swaps. That was easy. That's easy money.
Yeah, now comes all the hard shit.
Yeah, making it all work.
Yeah. What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. We're back here on Gerry's 1993 Coyote swap and just trying to get all the parts that we need to get front end suspension and brakes bolted on. You can see you got a tie rod end just loosely spun on there. We got his control arms down on the ground here, which we realized we didn't have any white lithium grease. Then we found some in a box for some other bushings, which is good. And then we had to go over to the factory K-member and steal some hardware because we needed bolts for the control arms and we needed bolts for the steering rack. And he didn't order those bolt kits because those are always not included, can be purchased separately in the fine print of those parts. So now Gerry's over there cleaning some stuff up, brake clean, scotch pads, wire wheels, all that good stuff. And we had to do the dangerous undoing of pulling out the factory, yes, factory coils from the K-member. So even with a spring compressor, it's a little dicey. So we got some footage pulling that stuff apart. Maybe throw that in there so you guys can see it. So while Gerry's cleaning up parts, we're gonna get organized. I'm gonna grease up some of the bushings here, start getting the control arms ready so we can get that all mocked up and put into place. Enough with that ball joint.
Pick up on it again. Stand.
Stand, please.
Before we die.
Oh wait, that's on the threads.
I hate those things.
Yeah, but an impact makes it so much better.
The bolts bad or the nut? Just grab the nut off the strut.
And the tip of the bolt.
That's fine. Once it's passed, it'll get on there.
I mean, this one will go on.
Just grab the nut off the struts.
It'll go on.
Same.
It'll go on. It's just right there. It's just self-locking is all it is.
Oh, it's like a little oblong, like a fucking torque converter style almost.
Yeah, somebody hit it with the hammer. That's all they did.
Motivated.
Yeah.
So you use it?
I'd run it on there. Run it home.
Send it.
Takes a lot of time. You know what they say? A cross thread is a tight thread.
Yes, the problem I had, I took the helper springs out trying to go extra low, and there's little needle bearings in between here, and I couldn't get the pressure to stay on this. Their design was actually on the other style. See how it does that? How it lifts off? If they had designed it this way, it wouldn't come apart. And then that way you could actually go lower. But they did it this way, so you always have to have pressure on there or it might, your bearing might pop. So this is all the factory Raceland stuff. Which all goes like this. And what they say, for whatever reason, is that you can't use them with Maximum Motorsport. Do you have the Raceland plates?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you didn't even get them?
I didn't even get them.
Well, there you go.
Because you said that you can make this work?
Yeah, I did say that. So it's pretty much all the same shebang. Like, we're gonna have to get that through. But this is where people run into problems, I think, is this bushing.
You need a spacer all the way through there, don't you?
Just trying to think. Yeah, how long was that? This one is this long.
That should be perfect to go through that bottom one too.
Yeah, you would think. It's gonna hit the sleeve before it hits this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is rubber as well. All this is doing is like a glorified spacer, but it's not.
It's not going to wallow out without a sleeve in there?
Well, the question is, the sleeve is longer than the rubber, so how's the rubber actually going to do anything? All the weight's actually on the sleeve, when you think about it, right? Unless I'm reading into this wrong, because this is gonna be the shortest. Because that rests on the shaft. Yep. That's gonna hit that. That's solid. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, there's rubber there. Okay. I thought that sleeve. Oh, there.
So if you mark it there and I'm taking, cut it.
Yeah, because if it hits there, that's bang, bang, bang. So we could take a little bit out of the sleeve and it'll give you a little bit more travel. What do you think?
Because, yeah, it's about this much. And it'd be better than taking and stacking this. It's pretty much where you'll be. But you'd have one solid piece instead of a bunch of them trying to move.
So did I stack those in the bottom?
I don't believe you did.
All right, guys, so long story short, we're gonna be keeping the bushings that come with the Racelands, okay? There's a sleeve in there. We're taking off about a 1/2 inch off the sleeve, about the equivalent of this, so that way there's actually gonna be an allowance for some rubber here to be able to actually do its job and take out a little bit of solid mount contact, so to speak, because when the sleeve is higher, it's going to bypass the rubber and not allow it to absorb any of the bottoming out, so to speak, if that happens. So once we shave that out, we'll pass these through the top, and all of the size of the Raceland shaft is the same as the sleeves and everything that's comes with Maximum Motorsport. So you can 100% run your Maximum Motorsport caster camber plates with Raceland coilovers. So we got Gerry looking to see what drill bit is required for his Brembos, because he's opting to hollow out these holes, and he's had these machined down in the way that you don't need the little spacer plate and you don't use the inserts in his case, where twin turbo Coyote car, I have the inserts with the new hardware and the spacer plates. So you can see here, new bolts and these bushings slash sleeves. I pressed out the old ones and honed out the backs here and pressed in these new guys. So these are a direct bolt-on to the SN95 spindle. Versus Gerry's setup is gonna be, well, we need to do some drilling. Both ways work. That kit is like $175. This way is gonna be substantially less. So you just kind of pick whichever route you wanna go, whatever makes you feel good. Maybe you're on a budget, maybe you just don't wanna go through the hassles. So tie rod ends, we got these sort of just, everything is just loose, guys, and mocked up just to make sure that all our parts work. We don't want to commit to tightening anything down until we know everything is bolted in place and is going to work properly. So what we've learned is we're probably going to have to take some material off of the inner tie rod ends because I can't get these threaded on far enough to allow our wheel to be straight and to ultimately get the right amount of toe. So what we'll do is, it needs to be a jam nut on this side as well. So we get some jam nuts, thread those off, take this off, thread it on the jam nut. We'll probably take off, I'd say probably about 1 inch of threads on either side. And then we will take the jam nut off, which will correct the threads after we've cut them, and put this tie rod end back on. And then everything should allow us to be able to do our alignment within spec. We'll get our ball joint tightened down. You can see it came with a spacer here to make sure our cotter pin and everything else is actually going to fit in the castle nut. Got grease fittings that'll go on the bottom, so that way we can grease the ball joint and make sure that they're serviceable. Tighten down our control arms, and we'll do that at ride height to make sure that the arms aren't tightened down. You always want to kind of make sure that you mimic the weight of the suspension, or have the weight of the suspension of the car rather on everything before you tighten and torque those guys down. Then we have our Raceland coilovers in place. We've got our Maximum Motorsport caster camber plates, everything working and lining up the way that it should. Do need to take out this factory fuel line still, run our braided lines up to the front and take care of our fuel system. But I just want to be able to get the front wheels bolted back on here so that this car can at least be a roller and give us more access, especially because I need to get some stuff wrapped up and buttoned up on the twin turbo Coyote car. So that's pretty much it for today. We'll come back, whether it's tomorrow or a couple days, we'll knock out, get these brakes done, we'll get the tie rods cut down, and we should be able to tighten everything in a way that we can get the weight of the suspension down on the ground, and the K-member still needs to be buttoned up as well. So everything, like I said, loose. Make sure your stuff fits. So everything's looking good now. Driver's side and passenger side, we should have the ability to adjust what we need now on the tie rod ends to do a final alignment. Obviously, there's a couple other factors that come into play here with the caster camber plates and even the preload of camber, depending how you tighten up. See that little bit of movement right there? That can make all the difference in the world. What that will translate to from down here to up here could be a whole degree of camber. So we'll get into that when we tighten everything down. Just need to get the drill bits now so we can drill out the mounting position for the calipers, and then we'll almost be in a position to start tightening everything down once we know it all fits. so we have success on the passenger side in terms of getting this Brembo Cadillac ATS caliper mounted on the SN95 spindle. And you can see here by the amount of dust and metal shavings and whatnot, and drill bits, Dremels, everything else. It took a little bit of massaging, drilled the holes out to 1/2 inch, then to 9/16. There's a lot of other YouTube videos that show this if you don't have the inserts, which I showed you guys on the yellow set for the twin turbo car. So in this case, you need a little bit of patience in order to achieve this, and you do have to hone out one side in order to get the necessary clearance so that you don't end up cross-threading your bolts or the threads on the caliper. So in this case, the rotor is going this way, and providing you're moving forward and you want to stop real fast. So with the rotor going this way, I wouldn't want to necessarily hone out the top hole. I opted to hone out the bottom one, and in reality, it's not going to go anywhere, guys. Like, the amount of finessing that you need to do to this hole is probably barely even visually noticeable, but it's literally probably the thickness of the thread needs to be honed out in this area here. And it's not much, in all honesty, but you want to take your time and just kind of keep working at it until you can thread these in your caliper by hand. So you don't want the bolts trying to go in crooked, because once you get to a certain point, what it's going to do, this is really hard. This is aluminum, so you're going to end up cross-threading your threads in the caliper, which you want to avoid. This is made to be more accommodating, and this has been honed out to get that inward and get it seated to where it needs to be. So that is the difference between the inserts. Pick your battle. Inserts are $200. If you're spending 2 hours drilling and honing out holes, well, it's pretty much a wash. Just depends what your hourly labor rate is. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead now and pretty much bolt everything up. Not super tight, just tight enough that the weight of the motor can be on the K-member, you know, the rotor and the caliper can go on, and we can actually bolt this wheel and tire on this side, so that way this side will now officially be a roller. And then we'll go ahead and just replicate exactly what was done here on the driver's side, and that'll allow us to be able to put the wheel on there and be able to actually move this thing, because it's kind of in the way where it is. I unfortunately cannot jack this car up high enough because this Jegs jack puked its guts out a while ago, so it only goes so high. So I need to bring my other jack over. That's fine. It'll allow me to find the proper banjo bolts for the braided brake lines and give me an opportunity to pass the ones that go down along the firewall. We'll get those tucked in on the underside of the firewall lip there, and hopefully, like I said, get this thing rolling. So hopefully you enjoyed this segment of dealing with suspension, Brembo Cadillac ATS brake calipers, and buttoning all up these control arms, K-member, tie rod ends, and all that other good stuff. So as always, thank you for your support, and we will see you here next time on the Infamous Project.